Do you want to learn the photo editing? Do you want to learn the most powerful tool at the moment in the world, Photoshop? If answer to any of these questions is yes, then let me tell you, you are at the right place. Welcome to the Photoshop Basics mini course. So in this course, you will get to know all the things you need to know to get you started with Adobe Photoshop or with the image editing. So we will learn all the basics of the Adobe Photoshop from this mini course. And if you are interested in learning more, make sure you check out my other courses on Photoshop. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and enroll in this course, and I will see you inside the course.
Welcome to this lecture. This lecture is a quick walkthrough into the basic interface of the Photoshop. If you are an absolute beginner, this is going to be very helpful for you, and this is a must for you. But if you already know the Photoshop, then you can skip this lecture. So let's get started. This is our menu panel where all the menu items are situated. This is our toolbox panel where all our tools are situated. Okay, and if you'll press and hold, it will open the tools which are hidden over here. And this is the layer panel where all our layers would be situated. Like if we have opened this image, this has been opened over here, and if we create a new layer, we can create new layer from here and it would be over here. This is our adjustment panels where all our adjustment layers are available. We can also go to the adjustment by clicking this little icon, and we'll have access to all the adjustment layers. Okay, and this is our swatches panel where we can pick the colors. Okay, this is the navigator where we can zoom in and we can navigate through the image. All right. Alright, so let's first start with the menu bar. So this is the file. Go to the file, and if you want to open a image, then we can go to the file and open and browse through the folder where we have placed our photo. Okay, and if we just double click it, it will open up in a new document. It has, you can see that it has created a new document in a different tab. Alright, so we can do some editing on this image, like by clicking this little icon. These are adjustment layers, and we can increase the brightness, decrease the brightness, contrast, etc. And after we are done, we can go to the file and we can save it. If we press save, it will show us the option where we want to save it, and from this drop down menu we can select various formats in which we want to save our image. So in this case, it could be Photoshop or JPEG, which is the most commonly used. JPEG for sharing your photos online or anywhere else. So that is the JPEG, and PNG. And if you want, you can save it into the TIFF also, but which is a very large file like PSD, and it maintains all the quality. So the most commonly used formats are JPEG and the PNG for the web purpose or for sharing it on any place. But if you want to share it with other designers or other professional works, so you can save it for the Photoshop documents as well. And if you'll press save, it will save it. Alright, so let me cancel it. And there are other options which are like open recent or browse in bridge. If you have already installed the bridge, then it will take you to the bridge software where you can browse any file, and from there what you can do, if you want to open an image, you can just double click it and it will open in the Photoshop. Alright, so from this cross point we can close this image. any image which we want, and if we have done some editing and we have not saved it as a Photoshop document, then it's gonna ask us whether we want to save it or not. So if we press no, it will not save it and close the documents as it is. Right. So what are the other options, like open as smart object? That will get into the later on. So open recent, where all our recently opened documents or the files are situated over here. So we can select anything like this one and it will open in a new document. Okay, so let me close it. Then go to the file. We can close this document by pressing Ctrl W shortcut command, or we can come over here and close it. Close all. If we have all other layers opened over here, we can close all of them by pressing close all, and from here we can select close and go to the bridge. So it will close this layer and it will take us to the Adobe Bridge. Alright, from save or save as, this is the same option, but if you have already saved one document as a PSD document or any other format, then it is going to save it in the same documents. But if you want to save it in a different format, then you can select save as, or which is a shortcut command, shift control as or shift command S if you are on Mac. Alright. Second is export. It has other options, export as PNG and save for web. This is the new menu options which they have created over here. So most images, if you want to save them for the web purpose, from here you can select like PNG file from this drop down menu, GIF and JPEG also. Okay, like if you select JPEG, we can choose the quality, what quality we want. Alright, leave everything as it is, convert to sRGB, which is the most commonly used format. Alright, and from here we can change the percentage of the size, like this is the size, we can manually change it to anything. Alright, okay, or we can choose it from here 7%, and if we press 100%, it will show us the original image, and from here we can see the real size of the image which we are going to save. It is 774.6 KB. Okay, and we can press save and it will take us to the our PC folders where we want to save it. You can browse it manually and press save. Alright, that way it will save it as for web. So this is very good for sharing your images on the Facebook or any social media or online. If you want to save this image for your website and anything else, this is a good option. Okay. Otherwise, if you want to save this image for printing purpose, then you need to go to file and save it as save as. Okay, like here, and if I can give it any name from the JPEG format, and let me give it some name and press save. And from here we have to select the quality, which is maximum, and make sure you select take this slider way towards the right, and it shows us the quality 12. Okay, and it will show us the size also, and we can press OK, and that way it will save it in a highest quality, which is good for the printing purpose. Let me show you one more thing. Control Alt and I, or Command Option I, it will show us the image size and image details. So this is the width and height in pixels. It might be for percentage, inches or centimeter, but most likely I would like to work with the pixels. Alright, but if you are in a printing business, then you might be working in inches or centimeters. Alright, So this is very important. Attention must be paid to this here. This is shows us the resolution of 240 pixels per inch. That means this image is good for the printing purpose. If you want to print any image, then your image has to have of 240 pixels per inch. But if you save this image as a save for web or sharing for the on internet, then it would be 72 pixels per inch. All right, so you have to keep this thing in mind. If you want to save your image as a for the purpose of sharing on the internet, then you must save it for 72 pixels per inch. But if you want to plan to print that image or any work in Photoshop, then it has to have 240 or 300 pixels per inch. All right, so let me press cancel. Now let's come to the next part, that is the, and what else, there is nothing important. We can print from here also. If we select this print, it will open up the dialog of print where we can select our available printers, okay, and other options, size and all that. So this is not important at the moment. So let's come to the next. This is the edit. From here we can edit this image like cut, copy, paste. These are all small things. We can undo by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z, or we can come over here and select Ctrl Z. Okay, if we want to go to step forward, if we have done something, undo, and if we want to go back to that, then we can press Ctrl Shift and Z or Command Shift or Z. Right, we can even go to step backward by pressing Alt Ctrl Z and Z, or we can choose Option Command and Z. All right.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the Move tool and the Marquee Selection tool. These tools are very important, out of which the Move tool is the most used tool in Adobe Photoshop. We'll take a deep dive into each and every option available in these tools. So let's get started.
So now we are going to learn the different tools in Adobe Photoshop. So first tool, which is over here on the top of this, that is the Move tool. You can have the access to this Move tool by pressing V, or you can come over here and click on this icon, and that way you will be having the access to the Move tool. And Move tool is, as it is very much clear from the name itself, that is used to move the certain part of the image around the canvas. Okay, so if you have certain part of the layers like this, and if I paint something like this and I want to move this over here, so I can choose the Move tool or press V on our keyboard and I can move it anywhere. So that is the Move tool. So there is nothing in this tool. Then comes the second tool. This is the Selection tool. So it has the, let me show you, it has number one, the Rectangle Marquee Selection tool, Ellipse Marquee Selection tool, and Single Row Marquee Selection, Single Column Marquee Selection, and all of these basically they are useful to make the selection. So if I select the first one, which is Rectangle Marquee Selection, I can select and I can make a selection over here. And if I choose this one, Ellipse, so it is going to create an ellipse and it is going to create this circle. And if you want a perfect circle, then you need to press Shift, and that way it will proportionate to the exact circle. Okay, and then if you want to select the Single Marquee tool, so it is going to select this single line. All right, and if you want the single marquee selection vertical line, so this is going to select the vertical line. This is how you can use this tool. And over here we have some options. So at the moment we have selected this one, that means it is going to create a new selection. And if we check this one, so it is going to add to the selection. So let me show you, and if I click once again, it is going to add to the selection. Okay, and let me just show you using this tool. So I'm going to make a selection and I have selected this one, and now if I make a selection, it is going to add to the selection. And if I will keep on adding the selection, it is going to keep on adding to the original selection. And if we select this subtract selection, so it is going to subtract it from the selection. So if I click and make a selection, it is going to subtract it from the original selection. Okay, so this is how you can use this. And then we have the option which is over here. If I click over here, and what it is going to just subtract the selection. If you have, suppose, let me show you two selections, so one is over here and one is over here, and you want to subtract these, so you can draw something like this, and it is going to subtract those selections and it is going to give you only these selections. All right, so this is how you can use that. And if you have just by default selected this one and you create a selection, and now if you want to add to this selection, you can press shift on your keyboard and then it will turn into the add to selection option, and you can keep on creating by pressing shift. And if you want to remove certain part of the selection, you need not to go over here, you just need to press alt and create the selection, and it is going to subtract it from that. All right, so this is how you can use this very easily. And over here we have the option of feathering. So suppose if you want this selection to be having some feathers, so let me just show you what I mean. If I made a simple selection with 0 feather, you can see over here we have 0 pixels feather, and if I fill this, so I mean if I press Control backspace, it is going to fill it with the black color which is over here, or red color which is my current background color, and you can see the edges are very sharp. But what if I want this selection to be filled with the little bit soft edges? Okay, so for that purpose what I can do, come over here on the selection and on the feathering, let's say I select 50 pixels feathering. Okay, and if now I make a selection, now this one has a feather. You can see the edges have become rounded because in this case the edges will not be sharp. And if I fill it again, you can see we get this kind of a result. So this is how feathering works. So you can control all of these featherings with the help of this. And this is the style. So you can set the fixed ratio. So if you want to create a selection, then it is going to have the width, fixed width. Then you can write the width you want, like 1 by 1, or like if you press 2 by 1. So let's see what it is going to create. So it is going to create something like this, and you cannot control its width. So on one side it would be, the width would be twice the height of 1. All right, so this is how you can do it. And if you want this way, width of 2 and height of 4, let's say. And now if I do this, you can see I can create this kind of option. All right, and if I just check the fixed size, then whatever size I'm going to put over here, it is going to create a selection only of those size. Okay, and not more than that. So if I just click, it is going to create that size. And let me just make a 640 by, let's say, 340. And if I create, you can see it is going to create the perfect circle of that perfect selection of that size. And I can lower down the feather. So let's say 0 feather, and if I click, it is going to create that perfect fixed size. And by default, if you go to the normal, you can draw the rectangle or triangle as per your own wish, and you can literally do anything you want with this selection. All right, so this is how you can use this marquee selection tool. So it was very easy.
Harshvardhanart.com. Unleash the creative in you.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we'll be learning how the mask option works in Photoshop. There is an option of masking in Photoshop, and as the name itself suggests, it helps to mask out selective part of the image or the entire image or an entire layer in the Photoshop. So let me show you how it works. So this is the image and I want to add a texture on it. So this one is the texture file which I have selected. So let me just turn it on. If I click this eye icon, it will turn it on. That means it will be visible. And now, since it is hiding my entire image, I don't want this texture to be on entire image, whereas I want the certain part of this texture to be hidden from visibility. So in order to do that, what can I do? I need to create a mask on it. So this is the mask option, and if you click this little icon, it will add a layer mask to this layer. So if I click it, it will create a white layer mask. And suppose, let me press Ctrl Z or Command Z to undo it. And if I want to hide it entirely, then what can I do? I need to press Alt or Option in Photoshop and click this mask icon. And that way it will create the black mask. And that means it has hidden the entire texture image. Okay. So now if I want to make certain areas of this texture to be visible on this image, what can I do? I have to take a brush. Okay. So I'm taking a brush. Okay. And from this drop down menu, I need to select the brush which is with zero hardness. Okay. Opacity to 100%, flow to 100%. And from here I need to select the white color, because if I want to make certain part of this layer to be visible on this image, I need to select white. Okay. And if I was supposed to hide it, then I would have created a white layer mask and then I would have used black color to hide it. So let me show you. If I paint it over here, you can see now the mask is visible. And let me show you how the mask is created. Wherever there is a black color, the image or the layer would not be visible, and wherever there is a white color, it would be visible. Okay. And let me go back again, and if I press Ctrl I or Command I, it will invert this mask. So now you can see that we have white over here. That means this part of this layer would be visible, and black over here. That means this part of the layer would not be visible. So let me show you. Okay, you can see that only this part is not visible, whereas the entire texture is visible. So I hope you have understood. Now let me show you another way to use the mask. We can mask out certain part of the image with the help of gradient tool also. So this is the gradient tool. Click here or press G on your keyboard and click this edit gradient option, and it will open the gradient editor. Okay, and from here you can select black to transparent or white to transparent. If foreground color is white, it will show you the white to transparent gradient, and if your foreground color would have been black color, it would have shown us the black to transparent gradient. Okay, so now we have selected black to transparent gradient and press OK.
Harshvardhanart.com. Unleash the creative in you.
And now you can see that we have a black mask. So in order to make certain part of this texture visible, we need to have a select the white color. So we have selected white color, and how it works, just click and drag it. Okay, and you can see that how it has created a black to white gradient. Let me show you. You can see it has gradiated into it, and you can see the texture. It is coming out more effectively, and we are getting a very pleasing result. Since this is a linear gradient, we have created this from this side to this side, or if I click here, it will show it this side to this side, and if I click and drag from this side to this side, it will create this kind of a gradient. But what if you want the gradient in one click, something like this, where the inner part is not visible and the outer part is visible? So that means in another way, you want to create a vignette effect with this texture. So what we can do, let me press Ctrl backspace, and from this option we need to select this radial gradient. If you hover your mouse over it, you can see it shows us the option radial gradient. Okay, so now we have selected. Now what we are supposed to do, we need to click in the middle and drag to one of the corner, and that way it will create the vignette effect like gradient. But the problem here is that it has given us the reverse effect. So we can do one thing to fix it by pressing Ctrl I to invert the mask, or if you don't want to do that, check this reverse checkbox, and now if you click in the middle and drag it outside, you will see now it has created the vignette effect. But still it is not perfect and the way we want it. So let's take the brush, softest brush again, okay, and lower down its opacity to around 20 to 10%, 11%, and with the black color we want to remove this from this part of the image. Okay, so we need to slowly paint over it, and this texture would be hidden from the faces. Okay, and that way we'll be having very pleasant result, and that would be more fine tuning. But since you can see that this texture is way too heavy or way too hard, what we can do, we can lower down its opacity from here, and boom, now it's looking more pleasing. Another thing you can do is change this layer blend mode. So go to soft light or overlay, and this time let's increase its opacity, and that way it is also looking good. And if you are not happy with the result, try different one. Okay, this one is also looking good, and darken, linear burn, color burn, multiply is also looking good, but we need to lower down its opacity. And there is no hard and fast rule. It all depends what kind of a result you want and what you like. So this is it. This is how the mask tool works. So thank you so much.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll be learning how the mask tool works in Photoshop, and I have been asked by a number of students that how they get the black mask when they click on this mask icon, which is over here. So let me just show you. If I click on this layer mask icon, it is going to create a white mask. Whereas if I want the black mask, then what I can do? You can simply hold Alt or press Option if you are using the Mac, and then click on this icon, and that way you are going to have the black mask. Okay, so it's very easy and very simple. And if suppose you have the white mask, let me show you. If I have the white mask and I want to turn this into the black mask, then what can I do? I need to press Ctrl I or Command I if you are using the Mac, and that would turn this into the black. And if again you want the white mask, then press Ctrl I or Command I and you will have the white mask. Isn't that easy and very fast? Yes, it is. And if you have any other question, you can ask me. So thank you so much. Bye bye. See you in the next lecture. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the new select and mask option in Adobe Photoshop CC 2017.1 release. So this is, let me just show you the Photoshop version. This is Photoshop 2017.1 release. Okay, and this is the latest release, and in this release they have added a new option to select and mask option in the Photoshop. All right, and I'm going to show you how we can make the selection with the help of this new option. Okay, so moment, as you can see, I select the quick selection tool or magic wand tool right over here. Let me just show you. Here we have the option of select and mask even before we make any selection. Okay, so if I'll just click over here, select and mask, it is going to open up this window. Okay, and here on this window you can see right now we have a quick selection tool and we have a refined as brush tool, which was earlier there. Now we have the brush tool here as well. We have the lasso tool as well, and if we'll click our mouse, we have the polygonal lasso tool and hand tool and zoom tool. Okay, and here we have the option to choose select or sample or layers. Okay, so we can check or uncheck that as well. And over here this is all the same which was earlier, but they have added a new feature which is of transparency. Okay, let me just show you how transparency works. As you can see at the moment, you might be seeing the transparent background, and if I increase it to 100%, you see only the transparent background. So you can see the transparency and you can adjust this transparency of the image using this slider. Okay, and all these options are the same which were earlier there. Okay, and over here from this drop down menu we have the option to select on skin. This is onion skin option, I think, which was not available earlier, and now it is available over here. Okay, and now since we have not made any selection to this image, we have directly come into the refine mask and refine as option. Now how we can create the mask on this, or how we can create a selection. Okay, so here we have the option to choose this quick selection tool, which is over here. You can press W on your keyboard as well, and now we can start painting on the image, and you can see it is going to create a selection for us, and it is very quick and it understands that which area we want. Okay, and this works very fine compared to the earlier tool. So you can keep on painting and it is going to create a selection for us. All right, and we can paint over here and over here and on her dress and on her hairs. Okay, and it is going to make a selection of all the areas based on our pixels where we paint. Okay, and if I just decrease the size of this quick selection tool by pressing left bracket or open bracket, or if I can increase the size by right bracket or the close bracket. Okay, and I can paint over here and it is going to make the selection of this as well. And how you see now whether the selection has been made or not, you can increase this transparency to 100%, and right here you can see what selection has been created with the help of this quick selection tool. Okay, so you don't have to go down and select on layers or on white or other options. If you want to see your result on the transparent background, you can right now do this with this transparency sliders. Okay, and now as you can see, some of the areas are left out, so I'm gonna paint with the brush tool on those areas as well, on some strands of hairs here as well. And I don't want to this flower to come into picture, or let it be over here. And some dresses, some of our dress is left out, so I can paint over here as well. All right, let some flowers come, that's not a problem for me, because my purpose is to make the selection of the hairs. Okay, so I can create a cutout. And here we have the option of which was earlier there as well, smart radius. And if I uncheck it and check it, and then I have the option to adjust this radius. So I'm basically telling the Photoshop to go a little bit further from the selection and make out the edges. Okay, and I can keep on increasing it until it gets selection of the hairs. And then now you can see this was before, it has not selected the thin edges of the hairs, and moment I increase it, it's going to make the selection of those edges as well. Okay, and let me increase it a little bit further, and I think now the hairs are selected properly. And now here comes the refine edge tool. As you can see, some of the yellow colors has been selected between the hairs, which we don't want obviously. So we'll come over here and we'll select this refine edge brush tool. Okay, and we'll select it. And now what we need to do, we need to first paint on the area which we want to keep, and then we'll paint on this yellow color. So I'll paint here and then on this yellow color, and it's going to take time, and it is going to remove that yellow color. Okay, and you can see right now, and let me just do it once again. And doing this, I can remove all the yellow colors or the unnecessary background which I don't want in the selection or the final outcome using this technique. And if I want, I can increase the size of this refine edge brush tool as well by open bracket or left right bracket. And it takes a little bit time because this selection process is little heavy. Okay, and it depends on how much free RAM you have on your system, because you might have noticed sometimes when your RAM is totally full, then you are not able to make the selection, and Photoshop gives you the error message that cannot make the selection since RAM is full. So make sure you free up your RAM on your system. You close all the background running apps or other softwares if you are using them, because Photoshop is really heavy thing. Okay, and it needs lots of free RAM to work on that or to work properly. Okay, and you can see that moment I am doing it, it is going to create the perfect selection for us. It is going to refine it, and this process takes time. You have to keep on doing until you are happy with the result. All right, but the end result would be worth the time which we are putting in creating this selection, because selecting hairs is really a tough task. But with this new tool, new options, it has become hell easy, man. Hell easy. Yes. And my system might be very slow for the moment because I'm just also recording in full HD so that you people can learn. Okay, and that's why my system or my Photoshop is taking that much of time to refine the edges. Otherwise it doesn't take that much of time. Okay, and let me do a little bit over here as well. And you can refine little bit from here and over here as well. And basically my purpose is to tell you how you can use this new feature and how you can make the toughest selection very easily in Photoshop. So I can even work little bit more on this, but I'm just showing you the result. All right, let me just show you the result, and it is completed. And if I increase the transparency to 100%, now we can see that we have made a good selection. Okay, and here we have all the other options like smoothing. So if you want the edges to be little smooth, because if you have the very sharp edges, that doesn't look good. I normally increase the smoothing to 20 to 30%. All right, and you have the feather option. You can feather whether you want the edges to be that hard or have little bit feather so that it gets mixed with other background if you are going to change the background. And here we have the option to contrast, to control the contrast of these edges. This contrast option affects the edges of these hairs, so small edges. So make sure you don't go that much, because that would make the selection very ugly. All right, so you have little bit contrast, that's fine. And here we have the option to shift edges, whether you want these selection which we have just created to shift either inside or outside. So you can do that as well if you want, but here we don't need that. And then over here we have the option to decontaminate colors. So if there are certain colors, you can see that if there is some yellow which is spilling over to the hairs or on the skin or on the clothing, then it is going to take care of that. And you can see the difference by turning it on and off, how this one looks good. Okay, and here we have the option to choose whether we want it to be a selection, layer mask, or new layer with layer mask. But I would suggest that you always go for new layer with layer mask. That way your original layer would be available for you and you don't have to be worried about making any changes. All right, and you can press OK. And now you can see we have successfully created the selection of the hairs using the new features select and mask in Adobe Photoshop 2017.1 update. So thank you so much. I hope you have understood, and if you have any question, you can leave that in the comment section below. So thank you so much. Bye bye.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we will be learning how the pen tool works. So you can have the access to pen tool by coming over to the toolbox panel over here and select the pen tool, or you can press P on your keyboard to have access to the pen tool. Pen tool basically creates one point to another point, and it creates the path or the shape as we have selected from here. So from here you can select path or the shape. Path can later on be converted to selection or mask or shape, and if you are selecting shapes, then it will create the shape. So let me show you. First let's create a shape. So when we select shapes, we have two options over here, whether we want to fill it. Okay, so if we want to fill it with, if we'll check this one, that means it will fill with solid color, and if you want to fill it with gradient, it will fill with the gradient. And if you want to click this one, it will create the pattern or the texture. It will fill with the texture. And now suppose if I am selecting the solid color, then I can choose any color from here, and from here you can select the stroke, which color of stroke you want, or if you don't want any stroke, so you can click this one and it will not create any stroke. And from here you can increase or decrease the size of the stroke, and from here stroke option you can select the straight line or the dashed line or the dots. Okay, so these are the things basically. So now we have selected shape, and let's create a shape. So it basically creates, when we click once it creates 1 point, and when we click second time it creates second point, and then third point, and if we click it back from where we have started, it is going to close it and it will create a shape. Okay, so let's say if you want the rounded shape, so what you can do, make 1 point and then make another point, and this time without releasing your mouse button, just click and drag this towards the right or left with your mouse, and you can make any rounded shape you want or you are interested in. Okay, so around this, and if we click again and create new point, it will automatically create a curve based on that, and when we click here it will close it and it will create a shape. Okay, and suppose this time if you want that you don't want this point to be curved, you want this point to be straight, then what you can do, you can press Alt or Option if you are on Mac and drag it back from where we have started, or from this to the second point, and now if you click it will create the straight point thereafter. So this is how basically the pen tool works. Now let's select the path this time. So we have selected path, and let's create a straight path, and we need to click back on the first point in order to close the path, and that way we have the option to select from here either selection. If you select selection, it will give you the option of how much radius of feather you want, 1 or 2 or 3. So I usually prefer to have the radius of 1 pixels and press OK, and it will convert the path into the selection. And if you select the shape from here, it will make the shape out of it, and if you select mask, it will create a mask. So that means you can see over here it has created a mask and it has hidden all the layers except the path part. So only the path is visible and the entire layer is not visible. Okay, so you know how the span tool works. And suppose if you have already created a path like this, okay, and if you want to make this straight line into a curve, then what you can do, you can again press Alt or Option and click this point and drag it, and it will create a curve of it. And if you'll keep on pressing Alt and now drag this handle and drag it back, that way we'll have this straight line and this one is curved. Okay, and similarly if you want, you can click this one and you can again create any path or the curve which you like. Okay, and if you want to remove any point, just click back on that point and it will remove that point, and then that would affect your shapes or the path. Okay, and if you'll keep on pressing, it will remove all the paths. So basically it's very easy, but though initially it seems intimidating, but once you are used to it, it's very easy and it's very useful for creating the complex selections. So thank you so much. See you in the next lecture. In the next lecture we'll be discussing about the Refine As tool. Okay, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we'll be learning what is Refine As option in Photoshop. Refine As is basically used to refine as the name suggests itself. So let me show you. Let's take the pen tool again and create this kind of a path which is random.
and convert it into a shape. Okay, and now it is converted into a shape. And now control and click this layer and it will create the selection of it. Now go to select and select refine as, or you can simply press the shortcut command Alt Control plus R or Command plus Option plus R if you are on Mac, and it will open this dialog box. Okay, and now let me undo all these settings. First option is off view mode. So if you click this drop down menu, it will open all these things, and if you select marching ants, it will show you the marching ants, which is the basic selection we get when we make a selection. Okay, second is overlay. That means it is showing us that wherever this red color is, that would be subtracted from the selection, and wherever this our main object or the main selection will remain as it is. And if we select on black, then it will show us on the black. If we select on white, that means it will show us the white background, and this is our selection which we are extracting. And on black and white, that means it is showing us the mask. Wherever there is white, that would be kept, and wherever there is a black, that would be subtracted, okay, from the background. And if we select on layers, that means it will show us the transparent or on the layer which is underneath it. So if I uncheck this one, I think it's not able to uncheck it. Okay, if it would not have been any layer underneath, then it would have shown us it on the transparent pixels. Okay, and reveal layer means that means it will show us everything, not just the selection. Okay, so I mostly and basically prefer to work on white, so that way we clearly see all the edges and all the difference. Okay, and now these are the options for selecting the hairs. So you can select the radius which was selected originally. This is the radius after that, and this is the original radius which we have selected. Okay, and now the second option is of edge detection. If you check this smart radius, this is basically works for the extracting the complex hair selection or some complex selections. So you can increase this radius to anything, and it will automatically create the selection or subtract or expand our selection, contract or expand our selection as we like. Okay, based on the information available in the image. Okay, so this is very good when you want to make the selection of hairs, otherwise it is not useful. Okay, so since we have very straight selection over here, so we are not going to touch that. Let's uncheck it. Now third option is of adjust edges. This one obviously it's smoothen out the edges. As it says, you can take it towards the right and it will smooth out all the edges. Okay, and if you take it back, we can see we are having sharp edges, and if we take it towards, you can see how it has turned the corners into very smooth curved. Okay, and next option is of feather. You can see the feather is what mixes the background with the edge. Okay, so we'll take it way further. It is going to just wipe it out, and if we take it smaller, you can see it has created a nice feather around it. Okay, so feather is for that purpose. And suppose let's take it around here. Now comes the contrast, and if we take the contrast up, it is going to sharpen those edges and add some contrast to that, so that we have a clear selection. Okay, if we take it up to the 100%, it is making clear and sharp selection. Okay, next is a shift edge option, which is obviously very clear. It shifts the edges. If we take it towards the left, it will contract from the selection, and if we take it towards the right, it will expand our selection. Okay, So it is always advisable to keep it around to -7 or -6 depending on the selection you have made. Okay, and now for third one you can select the output to selection or as layer mask or new layer with layer mask or new document with layer mask. These are the options. You can see that these are grayed out. These are not available to us because we are working on an object which is already extracted. That means it has no background. It is on the transparent pixel. That's why we have the option of selection or layer mask. So if we select layer mask and check this setting, remember settings, that means if we'll use it later on, it will all automatically keep all these settings for us, and press OK, and it will create a new layer with layer mask. Okay, and these are three options. One is for zoom. Obviously you can zoom in, and if you want to zoom out you need to press Alt or Option and it will zoom out. Okay, and this one is obviously hand tool. You can click and drag it around here. Okay, this one is refined radius tool, and if you want to make some refinement to the edge, and if you click and paint, you can see that it is refining this edge and it is creating some mask over it or feather out of it and doing it. And if you want to remove this, you can select erase refinement tool or erase refinement tool, and if you paint it, it is going to create back whatever was our selection originally. Okay, so this is how it works, and press OK and it will create a mask. You can see it has created a mask. Okay, so it's very simple, though initially it seems intimidating, but once you are used to it, it is very useful for creating complex selection. And Photoshop, basically for the Photoshop composites like we are doing right now, this is an absolutely integral part. You cannot do anything without this selection, so you need to know all these options, and you will learn more about these when you'll practice yourself. So the more you will do, the more you will learn. So thank you so much. See you in the next lecture. In the next lecture, we'll be extracting the face from the background in order to use that in our main composition. So thank you so much.
In today's episode, I'm going to show you the one-click selection or one-click cutout or the artificial intelligence selection in Adobe Photoshop, which has been introduced in the recent Photoshop update of January 2018. Coming up. Hey, what's up? This is Harshvardhan and welcome to another superb episode. In today's episode, I'm going to show you the latest feature which has been added by the January 2018 update in Adobe Photoshop 2018. So this feature is very helpful. It saves you a ton of time and it makes just one click selection of your prominent subject in the image. So if you are into the compositing work or the photo manipulation work, then this feature is a really must for you, and I'm sure you are going to love it. I love this feature. So with the help of this one, I can make a selection or I can easily remove the background with just one click. So let me just show you how this works and where this feature is available. So this feature is currently available. First of all, you need to have the quick selection tool or the magic wand tool. So you can use this or select this option by pressing W or Shift W if you are using any other tool. So you need to come over here and select the quick selection option, and then on the top panel you can see over here we have this option which is called the select subject. You can see this is the option. We have the select subject. Earlier we were having only the select and mask option. Now we have the select subject option. So in order to make a one click selection, you just need to select this option, select subject.
you just press on this and it is going to calculate the pixels, and boom, it has made the selection. And you can see over here we have some problem. This is not that perfect selection, but it has made the very basic selection, and now we can easily refine little bit on this. But if you are using the pen tool and going to make the selection, it is going to take you a whole lot of time, but it saves you that much of time. And now you can come over here again on the top and you can select the select and mask option. Just press this one, select and mask, and again it is going to give you all the default refine as options which are over here, so you can use them or you can simply press OK. I'm not going to refine it, I'm just showing you how this tool works. And less than 30 seconds we have made this cutout, or we have removed the background from this image. All right, so let me just show you another image and how this works on different image. So this is the image, another. So I'll just once again select the option, select the subject, and it is going to calculate the pixels, and then boom, you can see it has made the selection. But I can easily refine little bit. Over here we have some problem, so let me just select the quick selection tool which is over here, and I can press Alt and paint over here, and boom, I can come over here, press Alt and paint on this area, on this area. So I can spend a little bit time, but for the basic selection it works like a charm. Okay, so let me show you another image. So on this image we have 3 subjects. So let's see how this works on this image. So let me select this, select subject, and yes, it's calculating, and now it has made the selection. But here we have some problem, reason being that the background color and the skin color is almost the same, so that's why we have some problem, but we can just refine it. All right, so let me use another image. Let's see how this works on this image. So here we have one subject over here and one over here and one over here. Let's see how it works. So let me press the select subject, and yes, you can see it has made the selection. There is a problem little bit, but we can fix that, and it has made the selection of this subject which is the prominent subject and the football as well. So I can paint and I can refine it little bit. It's not that perfect, but yes, they are going to improve it, and in the future updates I hope that they are going to improve it even further. So let me just show you on this image which is a still image of, so let me select the select subject and let's see how this works this time. And you can see it has made the selection, but over here we have little bit problem, but don't worry, we can fix that. Okay, so let's try another image which is over here. So this is again a still life photo, and let's see what it does on this image. So let me select this select subject, and let's see how it makes the selection. So according to him, this is the selection, this is the prominent subject, and this one is the prominent subject. So it has made the selection of that area. Okay, so it's not that good. Let me just close it, and let me come over here on this image. So let's see, select subject, let's see what it does, because we don't have any subject over here. So it thought that there is some guy over here, so it has made the selection of this area. All right, so it doesn't work for the images where we don't have people. So if you have faces, it's going to work very good on those images, but if we don't have the faces or the human being present in the image, it's not going to work. So let me just show you on this image. Select the subject, here we have the human beings, so it's going to work very good. You can see it has made the selection, and over here we have the problem. I can press Alt and paint over here, to refine it. All right, so this one works good on this image, so let's try this on this image. So press the select subject, and yes, it has tried to make the selection of the subject, but here we have some problem due to the contrast and the colors in the image. So it works based on the colors and contrast in your image. However, we can refine it, but yes, it is very helpful when you want to make a very quick selection. All right, and it saves you lots of time if you are into the compositing work or lots of photo manipulation work like me. This is a lifesaver for you and for me as well. So how do you like this feature? Please do let me know in the comment section below. So thank you so much. Bye bye. See you in the next episode. Till then, keep shooting and unleash the creative in you.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn all about the gradient tool. Gradient tool is very helpful for many purposes. You can create the vignette effect, or you can recover the details in the sky using the gradient tool. And there are so many options or so many uses of gradient tool, especially in photo manipulation as well. So we are going to cover that today. So let me just zoom in, and you can select the gradient tool from here, or you can simply press G on your keyboard and you'll be having the access to gradient tool. And over here we have all these bunch of options on the gradient. All right, so we have over here the option. So if I'll just click on this drop down menu, it is going to open all the gradient presets which are available over here for us. Or you can simply click it and it is going to open this gradient editor option. And now we have all the presets which are available over here. And if you don't have all the presets or these presets, then you can click on this cogwheel and select these presets. So if I just select pastels and I can select OK, in that case it is going to replace my existing gradient. Okay, existing gradient preset, but I don't want to delete my previous or existing gradient, then I'm going to select append, and that way it is going to append all these over here. Okay, and similarly I can go for some here as well, like these one, append, and they will be available over here. Okay, so you can do that, all of these, and you can reset the gradient, you can replace the gradient with other options. Okay, and over here we have the option to load it. If you have downloaded it, the gradient.grd file from the net, then you can select it and load it, and those would be available over here for your use. And if you want to save all these, then you can press save, and you can rename it wherever you want to save it and press save, and that would be available for you as a backup. Okay, and if you want to create new, as you can see, if I make certain modification over here, I can press new, and that would be available over here. All right, and I can rename it as well. Over here I can give it a name, black and white, and let's say blue. So if I make some adjustments, so if I click in the middle, it is going to create one more color option. So I can select it and select the blue color from here and press OK. And with these two small diamonds, I can adjust their opacity or their position where they will go. So I can select each of the colors, and here we can select the color, we can change that color, press OK. We can change their location. So if we don't want to use it, we can place it exactly on, let's say 40%. So this would be on 40, and if we go back to 100%, the position would be 100%. So we can choose that as well accordingly. And if we want to remove something, so we can select, click and drag it outside, and that way that black color slider would not be available. And similarly
over here, if I click it once again, it is going to give us the back, that color back. And on the top we have these options. So if I select it, I can choose its opacity. So if I want it to be transparent, or let's say less opaque or less opacity, I can adjust its opacity, and you can see over here how this is affecting. All right, if I go for 0%, this black color has 0 opacity, and if I wanted something like this, I can adjust that as well. Similarly with this one as well, and make sure wherever you will click, it is going to create different color options for us. But let me show you similarly with this color as well. If I select it and select the top one, I can adjust its opacity, and over here as well I can adjust its opacity. So okay, and here we have the option to choose the gradient type from solid. This was a solid, and we can choose the noise as well, and in noise we have this kind of a gradient. Okay, so we can adjust their color mode as well. So we have different color mode: RGB, HSB and LLab. These are different color modes, but mostly I work on RGB, and if you want to work on other colors, you can do that as well, but RGB is the most popular, and that way you will not have any problem if you will save your or share your images online. Okay, and we have all these options. We can choose different one like add transparency, or we can click randomize, and that way we'll be having the random effect. Okay, and it is going to give us the random effect. So I'll go back to the solid, and let's say I will select this gradient and press OK, and now let me click and drag it down, and it is going to create this linear gradient, just because I have selected this linear options over here. And here we have some options. I have at the moment I have selected this linear gradient option, so it has created the vertical gradient because I drag it from the top to bottom. And if I can drag it, let me just show you. If I'll press Ctrl Z or Command Z, then I can drag it from top to bottom, or sorry, bottom to top, or I can click and drag from left to right or right to left. Okay, so using this gradient, this option linear gradient, I can create this kind of a effect. And if I choose the radial gradient, I can click in the middle and drag it outside, so it is going to create this kind of effect. And or I can click outside and drag it inside, so it is going to create this kind of effect. And let me just show you more clearly using the different option, and I will select this black to white gradient and press Ctrl Z, create a new layer, and now I'll click and drag it outside. And right now you can see it has given me the dark color black inside and white outside. And if I want the reverse effect, what I can do, I can click outside and drag it inside, and that way it will be giving me the different result. Okay, or I can come over here and select the reverse option, and if I click and drag it outside, this time it will give me white inside and black outside. So this is how we can use it. And over here we have the other options like angled. So if I select it and drag it outside, you can see it is going to give us this kind of a effect, and whichever side I'm going to drag, it is going to create an angle towards that. So we can create this cool effect with the help of this option. And then we have this option reflected, and this way if I click up and down, it is going to give us it in the center. Okay, and if I click and drag it from this side, it is going to give us this effect. And then we have the final option, which is of diamond. So I can select it and click in the center, drag it outside, and this is going to create this diamond effect and it is very helpful for creating some kind of a scene or the star effect if we want. Okay, so these are different options, and here we have the other options like mode. So we can change the layer blend mode. At the moment by default it's the screen, and here we have the opacity. We can adjust the opacity as well, which was inside, and we can adjust that from here as well. Here we have the option to check the reverse, to reverse the colors, and here we have the dither and transparency. Transparency again, if you want to maintain the transparency, and dither, I think it controls the noise or the grains. Okay, so I'm using this. I can now make this scene more warmer. So I'll click on the gradient editor option and click on this layer and select the color, let's say maybe this kind of a red. Press OK and click on this, and or I can just double click on this as well and select the orange color over here and press new. We press OK, press new, and that would be, it would be available over here, and press OK. And this time selecting this linear gradient, I can click and drag it down, and it is going to cover up this thing entirely. And I'm going to change this layer blend mode to, let's say, soft light, or I can change its layer blend mode to screen, or let's say vivid light. We can try different one, whichever looks good, or we can go for the overlay as well, and we can lower down the opacity. And here what we can do, we can create a layer mask. And now using the gradient tool and selecting this black to white gradient, we'll press OK, and now we'll click and drag it outside. And what it is going to do, it is going to let me just change this layer blend mode to normal. What it is going to do, it is going to remove it from it, and at the moment it has removed it from the top rather than from the bottom. So I can either press Ctrl I like this, or I can uncheck this reverse option. Okay, and now I will click it once again and drag it once again to create this kind of a effect. All right, or if you want, let me just show you another way using the gradient tool. And this was the last preset which we have selected, and this time I want this dark color to be blue. Okay, so I want it to be blue, something like this, and press OK, press new. That would be available for us, and press OK. And now I'm going to click up and drag it down, so it is going to give us this kind of effect. And now change this layer blend mode to, let's say, screen. Now screen is not looking good. Let's go for soft light. Yes, soft light is looking good, or we can go for overlay as well, but overlay doesn't look good. So I'll go for soft light, and I can adjust its opacity as well, or I can go for the color. Yes, color is also looking good. So we can try out different these options and these layer blend modes, and each will give us the different results, and we can decide which one is best for us. All right, so this is how we can use the gradient tool over here. And if you have any question, you can ask me. You can leave that in the comment section, or you can leave that in the question answer section. So thank you so much. Bye bye. Welcome to today's episode. Today we are going to learn all about the curves adjustment tool in Adobe Photoshop. Curves adjustment layer can be created from here. Okay, and using curves adjustment layer we can achieve lot more things. So I'm going to show you all of that. So this is our starting image, and let's create a curves adjustment layer from here by clicking this icon, curves like icon. Okay, or you can go down over here on this black and white circle, and if you click it, it will open up this drop-up menu, and from here you can choose the curves, okay, and it would create a curve for you. And now let me show you the basics of curves. First of all, over here you can see, if you click this drop down menu, you will see some presets, okay. If you click this color navigation, it will show you the RGB, okay, and cross process, it will cross process the image. As you can see, these are the different curves and how they have been molded, okay. Darker, okay, if you want to make your image darker, increase contrast, that would increase the contrast. Lighter, it will make the image little lighter. Linear contrast, medium contrast, negative, and strong contrast, okay. So these are all presets you can browse, okay, and if you want to reset it, then you can choose default, and it would be a straight curve, so it would be a default. Next is RGB, okay. If you click and drop this drop down menu, you will show this is the RGB curve. But if we want to selectively modify or manipulate any single color like red, then this curve, using this curve, we can manipulate this red color. And for green, we can click green, blue, okay. And if we go back to RGB, and if you'll press this auto option, it is going to make our image pop automatically based on its own calculation, okay. So let me let me reset it. If we want to reset it, either we can come over here on this reset to adjustment defaults, this rounded arrow, okay, and it is going to reset it, or we can click and drag these points and drag it outside the box, and it is going to remove that point, okay, and will be at the starting position, okay. Next is this hand tool, okay. Using this, if we'll click, it will be selected, and now we can select any area of the image like this color, and if we'll click and drag with our mouse, it is going to make it lighter, and if we'll drag it down, it is going to make that color or that part darker, okay. And we'll take it this side or this side, this will also make slightest of difference, okay, as you can see. And moment we have selected, as you can see, it has created one point over here. That means this has selected this area from this graph, okay. If you'll select this area, and you can see it has created this another point, and we can similarly drag it up or down to make it lighter or darker, okay. Since we have selected this RGB, and if we select the red and drag it up and down, you will see it is going to do that for us for the red color. Similarly for the green or red or blue, okay. And let me reset it, okay. Next is this black point, okay. Using this, we can give the proper color, white color balance, okay, to our image. So we will select the black color or point picker, so we can select the black color if there is available in our image. We'll select it, so it is going to fix the white balance for us, okay. And similarly with this is a gray point picker, and we need to select the gray point or the area which is not absolutely black or green like midtone, okay. And the moment we have selected, you can see it has changed the white balance. Let me show you by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z. You can see this was before and this is after we have selected. It has made a slightest of difference because white balance of our image is already good. Okay, and then this one is the white point. Okay, and we can, using this, we can choose the white point like this person, and it has fixed the image properly. Okay, it has boosted this white, boosted the exposure and contrast, and you can see now our image looks very good. Okay, and second, this one is regarding curves. It is of no use, and this is pencil. You can create your own curves using this. Okay, but this is also not useful much, and this is for curves, and this is histogram. Okay, this is also not useful. So main useful tool is these: one, hand tool, black color picker, and gray point picker tool, and the white picker tool. Okay, and reset it. And if you don't want to reset it, let me undo it. You can check it by clicking this eye icon. This is the before and this is after we have applied this curves. Okay, so without pressing Ctrl Z or without resetting it, you can check what was our before result and what is after we have applied all these settings. Okay, and let me show you the next point. Let me first reset it, and next this is very important. Using this, we can clip this adjustment layer to the layer underneath it. That means after we select this, it is going to affect only the layer which would be underneath it. As you can see, at the moment we have only one layer. Okay, so if I'll just create a duplicate copy of it, let me drag it on the new page icon and drag it upside. And now if I go to its settings and if I clip it to the underneath layer, and if I make any adjustment to this, okay, let me first, okay, let me first undo it. Okay, and if I make any adjustment, as you can see, it is not affecting our image because this layer is above it, but it is affecting the underneath layer. Let me show you. Now I have turned off the topmost layer, and now since you can see this arrow, this is pointing downward. That means this layer is going to affect only this layer. All right, so if I make any adjustment, I can see it now, but if I turn it on the top layer, I won't be able to see the adjustment, but it would be there. Okay, so this is how clipping mask work. Okay, so let me show you. Let me undo it. Okay, reset it. And next important thing which need to be considered is this area. This area affects the shadows. Okay, as you can see, and this affects the midtone, and this area, this affects the highlights. Okay, if I make the adjustment to this, like if I drag it upward, so it is going to lighter the shadows. Okay, and if I drag it downward, it is going to make the shadows darker. Okay, and let me drag it over here, and this area affects the midtone. So if I drag it up, it is going to make the midtone lighter, and if I drag it down, this going to affect the midtone and make it darker. Okay, and let me drag it little bit upward, and this area is affecting the highlights. Okay, as you can see, now we see more highlights, and if I drag it down, you will see you will not be able to see any highlights over here. and it is going to take away that highlights from it. Okay, let me add a little bit, and if I want to add contrast, I can create one more point and I can add a little bit contrast to this image. Okay, and if I drag it over here, and let's choose the blue color. Okay, and let it be in the highlights. That way our sky would be more blue. Okay, and take it away a little bit from the shadows. If we add it, you can see our shadow would become blue, and that would not look good, so we don't want that. Okay, so we want to keep it this way. All right, and similarly, let's add green to the shadows a little bit, and we don't want it to be in the highlight. Okay, so let me reset it, and I think it is becoming more greener, so let's leave it alone. Okay, and let's come to the blue we have already done. Let's come to the red, and let's see if it is doing any good. No, I think it's not doing any good, rather it's ruining the image. Okay, so we'll go for this one. Okay, and now let's create one more curves adjustment layer. This time we'll create it from here, and let me show you one more simple trick using which you can pop out your colors and contrast in the image. So as you can see, at the moment it has low contrast. Okay, and I want to boost this contrast and colors. So what I can do, I can make a simple slightest of S curve on this curve, and that would make my colors and contrast pop. So let's see how it works. So if I'll create a 1 point over here and drag it little down, 1 point over here and on the highlights, and make it like S curve. All right, and if I want, I can adjust it. As you can see, the slightest S curve, and let me show you by turning it off and on. You can see the difference it has made. Okay, and let's create one more curves adjustment layer, and this time let's drag upward this midtone so that we get to see more light over here, and let's add little contrast in this area and little bit more highlights if you want. Okay, and now see, this is the final result by turning it off. So this was our starting image, and this is after we have used the curves only adjustment. We have not used any other tool for this purpose. We have only used the curves adjustment. Okay, so I hope you liked it, and please do apply whatever you are learning from here to your own images, and do share your work, and if possible before and after work, in my private Facebook group, which is called the Lens of You, which I have created specifically for this purpose. You can find the link to that in the description section, and if you have any question, you can always leave in the comment section. All right, so if you like it, please don't forget to hit the like button, and please subscribe to my channel for more videos. And one more thing, if you want a huge discount on my pro tutorials, you can get that via a link in the description section, where you will get all of my courses for a limited time just for $49. Okay, and if you want my future course also to be included, then you can purchase $49 per year subscription for that. Okay, so thank you so much. See you in the next episode. Welcome to today's episode. Today we are going to learn all about the levels adjustment in Adobe Photoshop. So let's get started. You can create the levels adjustment by clicking this histogram like icon. Okay, if you'll click it, it will create a new layer and this is its property. Okay, otherwise you can come down over here and if you'll click this, it will open up a drop-up menu, and from here you can select levels, and that would also create a levels adjustment over here. All right, and let's go to its settings, and first of all let's see what options it has. First, it has some presets which are inbuilt. If you'll click this drop down menu, you will see some options, like if I click it, it will make my image darker. Since it's darker, increase contrast, it is going to increase contrast more, and 2 and 3, these are different one. And lighten shadows, as you can see, the moment I have selected lighten shadows, I can clearly see this scene. All right, and then lighter, okay, mid-tone brighter, now it's going to target the mid-tone, and mid-tone darker, and custom, obviously you can create your own custom levels. Okay, so if I'll go for default, so this was the default, and second is this option to target the RGB color, which is red, green or blue, or you can target the selective or individual color, that is red. If you want to target the red channel, you can select it and you can make adjustment to that. Okay, and similarly green channel, you can make adjustment to that, and blue channel. Okay, so let's go for RGB, and this is a auto option. What it is going to do, it is going to adjust the image or adjust this levels adjustment based on the pixels or information available to the Photoshop, and it will give us the result. So let's press auto, and you can see the moment I pressed it, it has shown us everything, and it has lightened these shadows, and whatever the dark area was, now I can see it clearly. Okay, and if I want to reset it, I can reset it by clicking this icon, and this one shows the before and after. Okay, this eye, so this was before and this is after applying this, and if I press this, it is going to reset it, or this one. Okay, let me show you, this is going to reset it. Let me press Ctrl Z or Command Z to undo it, and this is the eye icon. If I turn it on and off, you can see the before and after also, and this one for deleting this. Okay, and come over here. Here we have 3 different eye picker tools. One is going to be, this is the going to target the black point. So if we select it, we need to select the black point in our image, and it is going to adjust the white balance accordingly. So let's take this one. I couldn't see the proper black, or maybe over here, and it is going to give us the white balance. This is actually only for the white balance, and this one for the gray point. So let's select this gray point, and you can see it has added a slightest of blue tint to this, and this is going to be affecting white. Okay, so if I'll select this, you can see now it has given a different white balance. All right, so these are the different things. Let me reset them once again and properly, and we have here histogram, and this area is the shadow. So this slider is going to affect the shadows, this is going to affect the midtone, and this is going to affect the highlights. As you can see here, we have less information on the highlight side, okay, and even midtone is empty, so we don't have much information, so it is not visible. All right, so if we'll click and drag this slider, it is going to make the shadows even darker, and it is also moving this midtone along with it. Okay, so let's drag it back and pick this midtone slider and drag it this side. As you can see, it has now made this shadows or this area lighter, and now we can visibly clearly see it. And this one for highlight, so if I'll drag it this side, you can see it is moving the midtone also along with it. So if we want, we can drag it back, okay, and we can make our highlights lighter or darker with the help of this slider. Okay, so let me bring it over here, and I think this one is okay. And here we have this option also, so here we can target the darkness of this image. So if we'll drag it towards the white, it is going to make our black point whiter or lighter. Okay, and this one for the highlights, so lighter point would be becoming darker. Okay, so these are different options. And now let's see for the mask option. This is a mask option, and you can see at the moment we don't have any options or sliders to work on, and this is grayed out. This is because at the moment it has only white mask. That means it is affecting the entire layer, not the particular layer or particular selective area. Okay, so if we create any mask over here, so let's take the brush and choose the black color, and if I paint it over here, as you can see, it is going to affect the rest of the area and not this one. Let me show you the mask by pressing Alt or Option and clicking this mask. So it will show us the mask which it has created. So wherever there is a black color, it is not going to affect that, and wherever there is a white color, it is going to affect that. All right, so as you can see, and if I invert this mask by pressing Ctrl I or Command I, as you can see, it is only affecting the center point, as you can see, by turning it on and off, and rest of the area is as it is. And this option is really great for doing selective sharpening or selective adjustment to any area. All right, so let's me show you one more thing. If I go to its property, here you have the option of clipping mask. So clipping mask means it is going to affect only the layer underneath it. Okay, so if I'll check it, as you can see, at the moment this arrow pointing towards the below or bottom, as you can see. So now it is going to affect only this layer, and suppose if we have a duplicate any other image over it, then it is not going to affect that, or some other image which is underneath it, that would also not be affected. So let me bring one more image. I think let's take this one to show you clearly, and you can see now if I make any adjustment, it is not going to affect this layer. Okay, so if I turn it off, and now let me show you, it is affecting only this layer, not the above one. Okay, and similarly इसको अगर हम नीचे ले, and similarly if I drop it down, let me unlock it and drop it down, Now it is also again affecting only this layer, not the below one. So if I turn it off, you can see it is affecting only this layer, not the below one. So clipping mask is also grateful if you want. So clipping mask is also very useful if you want to selectively target certain area of the image. So this was the levels adjustment tool. So thank you so much, and if you like today's episode, please don't forget to hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support the channel, then you can purchase my pro tutorials, and you can get that with huge discount in the link in the description section below. That would help me to create more free content for you in the future. And I have a request for you. If you want to accelerate your learning, then you must practice whatever you are learning from here. So apply whatever you have learned from this episode to your own images and try to share your work in my private Facebook group, which is called Lens of You, and you can get the details of that in the description section below. You'll find a link to that group. You'll just click it and send me a request. I'll approve it. And this is a community which I am building for the photographers and retouchers. Okay, if you want me to create an episode on any particular subject or topic in Adobe Photoshop, then leave your request in the comment section below, and I will see what can I do on that topic. So thank you so much.
In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to replace the sky in less than 1 minute. Coming up. Hey, what's up? This is Harshvardhan and welcome to another superb episode. In today's episode, I'm going to show you a simple trick using which you can replace the sky in less than 1 minute. And it's very fast and it works for even the complex subject like this, which is right, you can see over here. Alright, so first of all, we are going to work on this image, and you can see that this image is very complex. If I would have to make the selection, it would take me years, or it would take me lots of time to make this selection or the perfect selection. But here, using this blend if technique, we can easily change or replace the sky in less than 1 minute. So how we can do this? We need to come over here. Let me just show you. On this layer, and on the blank side we just need to double click, and that's going to open up the layer style option, and we have this drop down menu. If we click over here, we can choose different channels. As you can see, by default it's gray. We can choose the red, green, or the blue. All right, and here we have two options. One is for this layers and one is for underlying layers. So using this technique we can change them. So in this case, the sky is of blue color, so we are going to select the blue channel from here. All right, and over here we can see this is the blue side and this is the black side. So we need to bring this on the left side so that the blue is hidden from this image or this layer, which is the dandelion layer, and that's going to show up the different or the sky different, the another sky. Let me just show you. We have one sky image under it. You can see we want to replace this sky with this one, which is little flat one. So we'll just double click it. Let me show you once again, and if I just choose the blue channel once again and bring this slider towards the left, you can see it has taken away the blue color from this image and it has given us this effect. But this is not perfect, so in order to bring it or make it perfect, we need to press Alt or Option, and then we'll click and drag, and that way this slider would split into two, and that would gradually replace or remove the blue channel or the blue color from the image. So we can drag it to our liking. So maybe something like this, because if I drag it too much, it's going to take away even the
this part of the dandelion, which also has a blue hue due to the sky. All right, so I'm just going to bring it to something like this, and thereafter I can even adjust this one. So if I want to bring in more of the sky, I can drag it over here, and thereafter I'll press OK. As you can see, we have easily replaced the sky with this sky in less than 1 minute. And if you want to work on this even further, or want to bring in more of the sky, you can use the levels command. So we can press Ctrl L or Command L, and then we can play with the settings or midtones and highlights, and that way we can bring in more of the sky or less of the sky. So that's how you can easily do this. Otherwise, if you would have done the selection of this area or these dandelions, it would have taken you a lots of time. All right, so let me just show you this on the another image. So we have this image, and under it we have this sky. So you need to place your sky under the layer on which you want to replace the sky. So over here, I'll just double click on this blank side. It is going to open up the layer style, and from this drop down menu again, I'll going to select the blue channel, and then I'll press Alt or Option, and that would split this slider into two, and I'm going to bring it down, and you can see it has started showing us the underlying sky. All right, and I can even adjust this one if I want more of this. All right, and you can see, we'll press OK. You can see that we have very easily changed the sky without making any kind of a selection whatsoever. So this trick is very cool. And if you like today's episode, please do let me know in the comment section below.